This is a special report from True Crime Today and the Hidden Killers podcast.
Welcome back to our continuing coverage of the trial of Scot Peterson, the Parkland School resource officer. Let's go to the courtroom for today's segment number 4.
I continue to have Ms. Combs, Mr. Killer, and Mr. Klinger present for the state. I continue to have Mr. Igarsh present and Mr. Peterson, who continues to be present. We are outside the presence of the jury. State, are you ready to resume your presentation?
Yes, Judge.
Defense, ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Please bring the jury to the bench.
No, it's okay.
Jurors entering.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Come on in. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Come on in. Once you're back at those same seats, you may be seated. All parties may be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, those of you using the notepad, I'll give you a moment to get the notepad back. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. When we took our quick restroom break, we were in the middle of the state's presentation. We're going to resume at that point. State, when you are ready, you may call your next witness.
Judge, Sergeant Vanderings. Sergeant Vanderings.
Sir, if I could have you come all the way up here to the witness stand, please. Once you reach it, but before you have a seat, you can just stop and look at me, please. Raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth. I do. Please be seated. So once you're seated, if I could just scoot that chair up as far as it will go. Can you please state your full name and spell your full name?
Richard Vanderings, Vandereems.
R-I-C-H-A-R-D.
That's R-I-C-H-A-R-D.
Ms. Combs, you may inquire.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Sergeant Vanderings. Will you please introduce yourself to the jury and tell them where you currently work?
My name is Sergeant Richard Vanderings. I work for the Bryan County Sheriff's Department, and I work for the city of Deerfield Beach.
How long have you worked for BSO?
24 years.
And did you have any experience in law enforcement or military prior to the Broward Sheriff's Office?
I just have 4 years working in the city of Oakland Park as a police officer.
Now, can you give the jury just a summary of the different units you've been assigned to as a police officer with BSO?
Mostly I've always been on road patrol. I like road patrol. I've done some time in our undercover set unit, and when I broke my leg, I did background for like 3 months. But most of the time I've been on the road.
How long have you been a sergeant for?
3.5 years.
In 2018, what zone were you assigned to?
I was assigned to the west side of Deerfield, 1013 zone, which is like right around, it's near a power line between Hillsborough and 10th Street.
And on February 14th of 2018, were you working that day?
Yes.
Can you describe for the members of the jury what was going on at around noon before anything happened?
Just like, running calls, patrolling.
Working the road?
Working the road.
And how did you become aware that something was occurring at Stoneman Douglas?
Dispatch did a blow over the air that there was a possible shooting at Douglas. At that time, I got on my computer and I pulled up to see what was going on. And when I read the notes, it seemed like it was a definite shooting. They said one person was on the ground. So I put on my lights and sirens and I started running code 3. Quick route right down power line, straight up Sawgrass. And I'm very familiar with the school, so I knew the back way in to get in quick.
What is code 3?
Lights and sirens.
When you arrived, where did you go to first?
I got off the Courtridge Drive. I came up the back road. I parked on the main road going east-west. I can't think of it.
I'm going to pull up a map just a moment.
Sorry.
That's it. Right, I'm showing you what it's already in evidence as state 1. Just give me one moment to zoom in and out.
Kohberger Road.
Okay. Your Honor, may I have the editing feature turned on?
Yeah.
Let's erase this. Sergeant, I'm going to turn on the editing feature, so if you touch the screen, it should mark it. Would you please mark on the screen where you parked your vehicle when you first arrived?
I parked my vehicle right around this area right here. Oh wait, right on there. I parked it so I wasn't blocking for any other vehicles to come in for emergency services, so I kind of parked off to the side. They tell you to do that for training.
Did you know that you were going to the 1200 building?
Yes.
What did you do once you got out of your vehicle?
I ran going southbound through the parking lot. I came up through this direction right here. There was a officer standing on the corner of the building with a rifle pointing at the machine, pointing at the building. And then since this part was covered, I ran to this side and I entered on this side of the building.
So did you choose the east side of the building because that's where you were needed?
I chose the east side. The guy with the rifle was on that side and he was pointing towards that direction, so I figured that's where the shooting was or that's where the suspect was. So that's why I ran into that direction and I came into that side. And when they were saying, with the reference to the shooting and so forth, that they were saying that building 12, which is right there, so.
When you get to the front doors of the 1200 building on the east side, describe to the jury what's happening. What's going on in your mind? What are you doing?
I just wanted to get in. I wanted to get in there and help and stop whoever it was that was, doing the shooting.
Did you enter the building?
Yeah, I made entry on that side. When I first went in, you could still smell like the smoke in the air. There was like debris, like from the tiles or something like that. And I noticed there were 2 children dead on the ground on the left-hand side. I went up to them, kind of looked to see who they were and so forth. And then from there, I went into a room on the left because there were officers that were already started down the hallway. And I went in, I believe, with another officer into the first room because I wasn't sure went through pulling people out, pulling victims out, whatever. Once I went in there and came out, I noticed they were lined up and they were working their way down, and they were going door to door. So me and another officer kind of went to the front and took point, and basically went to, push everyone, to get them to go faster. And that way they could be pulling victims out as we covered the hallway and pushed our way to the west side of the building.
I ask you what a couple of things mean. What does it mean to take point? And then I'll ask you about push. So what does take point?
Take point, basically, we're going to the front. We're going to the front of the line. I seen people doing other things. I seen people grabbing kids. I seen, people covering the rooms. I needed a job. I needed to do something. And I figured the best thing for me to do was to get up front. I had a long rifle, so I went up front with another guy, and we basically were starting to push down the hallway.
Now push, what does it mean to push, and why is it so important to push at an appropriate pace?
You need to get to where the suspect is. You need to get down the hallway. You need to keep moving until you stop the person that's doing this, to find them.
In that moment, how important is it to have enough people in that building to help?
The additional people they're great for pulling the victims out, covering rooms that you can't lock. But the pushing is, you can push one person, you can push two. I mean, the extra people, don't get me wrong, are great to have. I mean, you can start grabbing the kids that are hurt, the ones that are screaming, that are upset. You can get these people to where they need to go.
So I'd like to slow it down a bit more. So you get to the first floor. Please describe for us, if you recall, who it is that you saw that was deceased on the first floor.
The first one on the left was Luke.
Hoyer.
Yeah, and the female I really didn't see too good because he was kind of laying over. I was looking at Luke.
Did you check to see if Luke was alive?
No, when I leaned down, I think someone yelled, he's gone.
What did you do after that? Did you work your way from the east to the west on the first floor?
Yes.
And describe for the jury what the floor looked like.
There were kids screaming. You had it was disturbing. It's something that's really hard to describe. When you see kids dead on the ground, it's hard. Like I said, my main purpose was to focus on, finding who did this and pushing, getting down the hallway.
Did you use the west stairwell in order to go up to the second floor?
Yes.
Okay. And when you got to the second floor, what happens on that second floor?
I got to the second floor and there were officers standing at the doorway and they said, we got this, we're searching. And then I ended up getting called up to the third floor because I was asking if there was anyone else upstairs or has anyone gone up. And about the same time, I went upstairs and I think there were 2 officers at the time. It ended up being 3 of us. And we looked out, one of them looked out the way, I looked in the hallway, and there was a child all the way on the end on the opposite side. And he kept trying to raise his hand up. And he was laying on the ground, he was on the opposite side, and we were like, we gotta get him, let's go. And then the 3 of us, or the 4 of us, we pushed all the way down, we grabbed him, and we drug him, and we pulled him all the way back to our side, to the stairwell, and about that time, a SWAT medic came up and started working on him.
Is that Anthony Borges?
Yes.
Do you recall describe his condition?
He was about, when we pulled him back, we left the trail. You could see where we picked him up from, or where we grabbed him from, and where we pulled him all the way back. He was bleeding a lot. He looked like he was in spot.
In that moment, what was the most important thing for Anthony Borges? What did he need most?
Sir, he needed someone to work on him to get someone to work on that. The SWAT medic probably saved his life.
Once you pull Anthony Borges, get him to the SWAT medic, what do you do next?
We start back the hallway again because now more people are coming up, and we have this one. The third floor was really bad. I mean, there was 2 girls laying to the right that were had passed away. There was one on the left.
Do you recall
Or
their
there was a
names?
male on the left.
Do you recall their names?
Cara in the Meadows was on the right. Oliver was like in this little cotton cave area. Can't think of his name. The ROTC guy, he was behind me to the right.
Are you Peter White?
Peter Wayne.
And as you're noticing, explain what officers are doing as you're noticing the victims.
We were trying to clear the hallway. We were trying to push all the way down to get to the rungs. So we were going, as we started down, SWAT started to come in. So basically what happened was as we were pushing down that hallway, SWAT would come in, they would take a door, and then the next guy would take the next door, because now we're starting to get people. And we're doing this basically all the way down the hallway, and they're checking vitals of everybody, and now we're pulling the kids out of the rooms to get them out of there.
When you say, because now we're starting to get people, do you mean now you can kind of divvy up the work as far as clearing?
Yeah, the SWAT team's showing up, we're getting more people, which means that they can do, if we can't get in a door, we can guard a door. We can go to the next one, we can try to start pulling people out. We were on the first floor, we were smashing windows because the kids wouldn't open the doors. So they would come up and they would look, and they would hide. And a lot of times, like, because I was in my uniform, someone would have to come up to the window, and I'd come up to the window and I'm like, sheriff's department, and try to make eye contact with them to get them to actually unlock the door. Some kids just refused. Which is completely understandable, and then we had to break the windows, reach in, and then make contact with the kids and have them come out.
Describe for the members of the jury the difference of that approach of clearing methodically versus when there's active stimulus.
They have to say you go to wherever it is.
You go to wherever what is.
If you have victims laying up on the ground and you heard the gunfire going that way, you just go. You just keep going until you find the person. If it stops for a second, and you have witnesses at that point, you keep going. You try to find the person who's doing it, because the sooner you stop them, the sooner there's no more victims.
That was my next question. Why is the confrontation? Why is that point of confrontation so important?
Because you have unarmed children, unarmed teachers, and I'm in a bulletproof vest with a gun. I'd rather him shoot at me than shoot at the kids.
Smoke. Your Honor, may I have permission to turn off the overhead screen?
We need to turn them
Yes,
off?
please.
Okay, please.
And Judge, I'm now playing what is already in evidence, states 6, F. Oh, okay, turn off 1. Sergeant, were you wearing your body camera that day?
Yes.
Okay, and did you have it on and was it recording?
Yes.
And have you had a chance to review that prior to today? when we
I will
did.
review it, yes.
Your Honor, at this time, the state moves into evidence what has been pre-marked as states S, as states 19.
Any objection?
If I can just speak to the state for 1 second.
All right, ready? I'm going with you. You two go, we'll come to the door. Go. Here, come over here. Watch this color. Two more, come on. One there, one here. Get in there. We're going to take the next two. Okay. All right, peek in that one. And now keep an eye on this one. Peek in there. Pause it. Is anyone hurt? No one's hurt? All right. Open the door. Open your mouth. Yes, come open the door. Yeah, you get the bathroom, I'll get the store. All right, I see two in this one. Yeah. Bathroom there. Sheriff! Come on. Hold on. Open the door. Come on. Okay. Ready? All right, next. I got a group coming out. Come now. Line up, hands on head. Follow them. Hands up. Come on. Hands on head. Hands on head. Leave your bags. Go. Somebody check that bathroom. It's locked. Yes, it's locked. Can we get in it? Hold on, let me check this room. All right. We need to take that door. You gotta go. Go. I got a door over here and there's blood on here. Okay, let's slow down. Get ahead of ourselves. Slow down, wait for some minutes. I'm going to cover this door. You got that way. Ready? Sheriff's Department! Shit. Good. What? Sheriff's Department! Come on, open the door! All right, hold on. Anybody in here need your? Hands on head! All right, keep your hands up. Yeah, this and this. Keep your hands up. Yeah. That looks like an office.
How would the sound of gunfire have impacted the path that you were taking?
I would have gone to wherever it was.
Would you have continued to move methodically, or would you have gone straight to the sounds of the shots?
No, you go right to where it is, because now you know exactly what, or you know the basic location of where it was, so you push forward that way.
Do you use the sound of gunfire to help locate where the shooter is?
Yes.
And if you can't tell where the sounds are coming from, what do?
You just keep pushing like that. You just keep going forward.
I noticed that you guys mentioned the bathroom was locked. Does the school resource officer have keys to the locked bathroom? Do you know?
Not off the top of my head.
You're all right, First Witness?
You may.
Sergeant, I'm showing you what is remarked as states T. Do you recall watching body worn camera where you were able to identify yourself on someone else's body worn camera?
Yes.
Okay, and did that image and that video fairly and accurately depict what you were doing as is seen on video?
Yes.
February 14th of 2018.
Yes.
At this time, the state moves into evidence what's been pre-marked as states T as states 20.
Any additional objection?
No additional objection.
Over the defense objection, which is otherwise preserved, state's T for identification will now be in evidence that is state's exhibit 20.
Are you able to see the image on the screen, Sergeant?
Yes.
Okay.
Hey, stand one more up! Stop! Come up here!
This is the third floor, correct?
Yeah. He's out of the clear. Go back. Hey, sit. What? Go ahead. Come on. Hey, send Mrs. Donna. Randy's messed up. Have them start coming up in the third. Hey, everyone's going up to the third now.
Now, we see some men in jeans, some men in shorts, different color uniforms. How were you all able to communicate with each other?
Verbally.
And why did you communicate verbally?
Well, one, we were all standing right next to each other. Two, the radio was, there was no need to get on the radio. First of all, everyone was on the radio. Everyone was talking on the radio. We had radio issues, communicating in and out. And realistically, we didn't really need to communicate in and out. We had the people there to do what we had to do. We pulled the one victim out, medics working on him. You could hear us, whoever body cam that was, you could hear him giving directions to everybody around him.
If your radio is not working, do you keep working?
Yeah, it's just a radio.
You're on the third floor. I can see that you're working the third floor. Describe to the members of the jury what happens next.
Once we get Anthony out, as you can see, you hear people, more and more people coming up. These are mostly the SWAT guys, and me, the one Coral Spring, or me and the two Coral Springs guys. we were basically together the whole time. Then we started clearing this whole floor, checking the rooms, and pulling the kids out.
What happens next?
We work our way down the hallway. We start pulling all the kids out once we have the, at a certain point, SWAT basically takes over the upstairs because the kids were out. And then I end up going downstairs and I go to the next building where they were making entry into it, and I go to the system there too.
Now, at some point, you do learn that the shooter is no longer in the building, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you go and you still start working other buildings, is that correct?
Yeah, I went downstairs, the room just to the west of it. They just started to go in there, so I went to assist them. But like I said, SWAT teams were showing up, so they started to do that. And then I started escorting the kids out to the roadway. And then from there, I started escorting the kids down to their parents. And I did that for a while, just trying to get the kids back to their parents, doing whatever I could.
While you're either inside the 1200 building, clearing the other building, escorting children to their parents, did you ever see Scot Peterson assist with anything?
No, I never seen him.
Did he ever enter any buildings that you saw?
I never seen him the whole time I was there.
And you work for the Broward Sheriff's Office, correct?
Yes.
Just a moment, ma'am. Judge, nothing else.
Okay, cross-examination, go ahead.
Can you turn that last image back on?
You want an eye?
Yeah, just for 1 second. Thank you. Good afternoon, sir. We've never met before, right?
Not that I know.
Just had a few questions for you. I just had the judge kick this on because the weapons that we're seeing in there, can you describe those to us?
I have a Colt AR-15 rifle. The SWAT guy has something, AR type. I don't know what they carry.
For people who don't know anything about guns, let's start with yours. I think earlier you called it a long rifle, right?
Yes.
What's the difference between a long rifle and I'm guessing there's something called a short rifle?
Well, as you can see, the SWAT guys, they have the short, more compact, more tactically sound rifles. I have a road patrol rifle. We've switched since then, but that's just basically like an old Colt style AR-15.
I noticed that you and other officers also have like a handgun with you.
Yes.
You didn't have that in your hand, you chose the long rifle, correct?
Yes.
Why is that a better weapon to go into the building?
Well, it's the ones who had the rifle brought the rifles, the ones who had the handguns went in with the handguns. It's obviously you want more power, more ammo, just in case it goes very, very bad. Handgun, rifle still stops the threat.
I got you, but one has a lot more ammunition, right?
Well, the ARs carry 30 rounds with the one magazine, which most people carry. I mean, I currently carry on me right now, I have a 21 round magazine and then 3 18-round magazines. So I right now I'm carrying more than my rifle did.
Okay, and just correct me if I'm wrong, if you run out of bullets and you don't have anything else, you're done, right?
I wouldn't consider you done, but it'd be nice to have more bullets, yes.
Got it. Now, you are with BSO in Deerfield Beach, correct?
Yes.
And prior to the arriving to the 1200 building, you never had a chance to speak with my client, correct?
No.
You had no idea what his real-time intelligence was, correct?
No.
You didn't know what he was going through, correct?
No.
You didn't know what he was facing at the time, correct?
No.
And You hear from dispatch, possible shooting at Douglas High School. That's what I heard you say on direct, correct?
Yes, that's right.
That's the real-time intelligence you get. Possible shooting at Douglas High School, correct?
Right.
So you weren't even certain that there definitely even was a shooting. It was a possible shooting, correct?
Yes, until I pulled up the CAD notes where they said.
We'll get to that, yeah. And explain to the jurors, a CAD note system is not something you can carry around with you, correct?
No.
What is a CAD system? How do you get access to that?
We have laptops in our computers, and when we get dispatched to calls, where you can pull up calls from different areas, and it'll show the notes as they enter them, or what's going on, so you can read them.
Do you recall what time you actually arrived at the school?
I believe it was like 2:40.
Okay. And that would have been at least 15 minutes or so after the shooter left, correct?
At that point in time, I didn't know he had left already. At that point in time, I didn't know he had left already.
Okay, well, that's important. In other words, you did not get any real-time intelligence from BSO telling you that the shooter or shooters had gone, correct?
No, the information we were getting was that he was still in the building, because they were saying that he was in the building, and then even when we got in there, someone was communicating, he's going to the third floor, he's coming down to the second floor, and then there was a bunch of intel coming across the radio that we weren't sure of.
Okay. I want to distinguish between what you heard on dispatch and what people might have told you on the scene.
Right.
Right? So are you certain that dispatch ever told you anything about, first of all, whether there was one shooter or multiple shooters?
They just said a shooter at Douglas in the freshman building, or the 12 building.
When do you think you got that specific intel?
That was on my way there.
So it would have been somewhere shortly before 2:40, correct?
Or while I was en route. I think it came out first as shooting at Douglas, and then when I believe when I pulled the notes, it said building 12 or freshman building.
Okay.
And I knew where that was, and then on the way there, they were updating in reference to the shooting.
Okay. You later learned that while you're on the way and you're getting that intelligence, the shooter definitely was already gone, correct?
Yeah, later on I found
Right.
out that he was never there.
But as you're approaching the building, you don't know that information, correct?
No, I thought he was there.
And you say that when you pulled in, you saw someone with a long rifle who had taken a position of cover, correct?
Yes.
They weren't moving, correct?
No.
And you talked about radio issues. Can you describe for the jurors what your experience was with your radio?
You would get a tone.
What?
A tone. You'd hit the button and it'd just go beep, so you couldn't communicate over it.
Not, as you say, a big issue if somebody's standing right next to you, because then you can talk to them, right?
Right.
But when someone who's further away needs to communicate with you, that makes it virtually impossible, right?
Well, unless you're doing hand signals or whatever the case may be, you're pointing, because the guy with the rifle did one of these, pointing as in go east.
Right. Assuming, first of all, you have no visual with the person you're trying to communicate with, you know.
Obviously, yes.
Okay. And ultimately, you never had a chance to speak to my client after this event, correct?
No.
I thank you for your service. Take care.
Based on that, any redirect?
Yes.
Go ahead.
You indicated that a handgun or a rifle can stop the threat. Is a 9mm handgun a handgun that can stop the threat?
Yes.
How many rounds are in a 9mm handgun with 2 magazines?
It all depends on which gun is being carried.
Do officers regularly carry more than 1 magazine?
Normally they carry 4, 1 in the, well, let me rephrase that. You carry 1 in the gun, and then you carry 2. Some deputies carry 1 in the magazine, and then we have a 3 magazine holder. So you'd have a total of 4 on you. Some only carried it with 3.
Are bulletproof vests available to any law enforcement officer that chooses to wear one?
Yes.
Does anything prevent an officer from putting on their bulletproof vest when they go to work that day?
No.
That's their choice.
No.
You were on the BSO channels. Those channels were available to other BSO employees, correct?
Yes.
And based on the information that you had from those channels, as you're arriving at the school, you made the decision to go into the building.
Yes.
Tell us what your training was as a BSO employee on that date on how to handle that active shooter situation.
You're to go in and stop the threat. You're to push forward to stop whatever is causing the harm until it's stopped.
Nothing else?
Based on that, any recross?
No, Your Honor.
State, is the witness excused?
Yes, Judge?
Sir, you may step down. Thank you very much. While he is doing that, State, you may call your next witness.
Yes, Your Honor. This time the state would call Officer Tim Burton. Officer Tim Burton.
I'm sorry, I'm going to hand the clerk some minutes.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, you know how I am with that thing.
Steve.
Take it home.
Court Deputy Hodges is having a little problem locating your witness.
Oh. Okay.
I'll go get it. Oh.
Sir, if I could have you come all the way up here to the witness stand, please. Once you reach it, but before you have a seat, you can just stop and look at me, please. Raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth.
Yes, I do.
Please be seated. And once you are seated, if I can get you to scoot that chair up as far as it will go, can you please state your full name and spell your full name?
Timothy Burton, Timothy Burton.
Mr. Killer, you may inquire.
Is it Officer Burton?
Yes, sir.
And where do you currently work?
The City of Coral Springs Police Department,
How long have you been a Coral Springs police officer?
17 years.
What unit are you currently in?
I'm in the Youth Liaison Unit, which is school resource officers.
And previous to being an SRO, what unit were you in?
In 2006 to 2011, I was on Midnight Road Patrol. 2011 to 2016, I was Daytime Road Patrol. And then 2016, I became an SRO. 2016 to 2018, I was at Eagle Ridge Elementary and Country Hills Elementary. And then 2018 to present, I'm the SRO at Coral Glades High School.
I'm sorry, where Coral?
Coral Glades High
Coral
School.
Glades, okay. So since 2016, you have been a school resource officer?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, what are the responsibilities of a school resource officer that are different from a standard road patrol officer?
We are mentors, we're protectors, we teach safety. We also, teach the kids about law We handle any crime in the schools, we take reports.
How about in regards to like administrative searches on school grounds? Are you permitted to do that as a school resource officer?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We do that with the assistant principals and school officials.
And what does that mean, an administrative search?
If a student has a weapon in his backpack, we can search the backpack and detain the weapon or any kind of drugs that the person may have on them.
And that's a different standard than, say, a regular road patrol officer would have for
Yeah.
probable cause?
Yes.
Is it a lower standard?
Yes, it's easier for us to do on campus. We have to have, the assistant principals can have reasonable suspicion.
Now, you personally know Scot Peterson, correct?
I do.
Do you see him in the courtroom today?
Yes, I do.
Could you please identify him by where he's seated in our podium?
He's right there. He's wearing a blue jacket with a blue tie.
Your Honor, may the record reflect positive identification.
Yep, record shall so reflect. You may proceed.
Now, previous to February 14, 2018, had you had conversations with Mr. Peterson, just in general?
Before that?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you know his voice?
Yes, I do.
Okay. How many conversations would you estimate you had with Mr. Peterson before February 14, 2018?
Over a 7-year period, many.
More than 10?
Way more than that.
Way more than 10. So you know his voice?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Your Honor, the state intends to publish to show the audio visual component of number 7. We would ask for the cameras to be taken down.
This is F7 of State's Exhibit.
No, State's Exhibit 7.
This is the sync of the audio dispatch.
Correct, Your Honor.
Okay. Court Deputy Hodge, all the TVs remain off?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. All right, go ahead, State, you may proceed.
Now, Officer Burton, I'm going to take you to specific times, and I want you to listen to the audio component to see if you recognize that as Mr. Peterson's voice.
Okay.
Okay?
Juliet 3, 17 Bravo 3, 17 Bravo 4.
Juliet 3, possible, could be contacted. I think we got shots fired. 1200 building.
Do you recognize that voice?
Yes, I do.
Whose voice is that?
Scot Peterson's.
We're talking about the 1200 building. Could be the building off of Kohberger Road.
Do you recognize that voice?
Yes, I do.
Whose voice is that?
Scot Peterson's.
We're looking at the 1200 building. It's going to be the 300 building. It's going to be right off of Kohberger Road on the senior lot.
Do you recognize that voice?
I do.
Whose voice is that?
Scot Peterson's.
on the school right now. Make sure there's no pedestrian traffic anywhere on Kohberger Road.
Do you recognize that voice?
I do.
Whose voice is that?
Scot Peterson's.
All units on the task line, stay on main. If you're going to Bravo.
There's going to more students running west towards the football field. You're going to Bravo. I hear shots fired.
Do you recognize that voice?
Yes, I do.
Whose voice is that?
Scot Peterson's.
Do you recognize the male's voice there?
I do.
And whose voice is that?
Scot Peterson's.
Okay, now going back to February 14th of 2018, were you on duty that day?
I was.
And what is your typical duties during the day, let's say on that day?
I was the school resource officer at Eagle Ridge Elementary School that day.
How far is Eagle Ridge Elementary School from Marjorie Stoneman Douglas approximately?
2 to 1.5 miles.
Okay. How long would it take you to get there? At the end of the school day? A few minutes?
The school or the parking lot where I go to?
Well, that's where I'm getting at. So when you leave your position at the middle school and you drive to, where do you go to every day?
So every day I go to North Community Park, which is where the Douglas kids use the parking lot for MSD.
Okay, so my understanding is there's kind of like a senior parking lot on the north side, and then if there's any additional students that bring cars, they park it kind of off campus.
Correct, and I provide security there.
Okay, and that's every day you do that?
Every day.
And is that what you were doing on February 14th of 2018?
I was heading there.
Okay. And you were heading there, did you end up going there?
No.
Why not?
Because I heard Sergeant Bill Reed over my radio ask dispatch if there was an active shooter at Douglas High School.
And with that information, what did you do?
Listened. And then the dispatcher came back with, yes, we're getting multiple phone calls. And as soon as she said that, I turned on my lights and sirens.
Okay, and once from the time you turned on your lights and sirens, how long did it take you to get to MSD?
I was pulling up to the intersection of Westview and Coral Springs Drive. Country Hills was in their school zone, so I was trying to make a left turn, so a couple of cars had to get out of my way. It slowed down my response a little bit. Made the left onto Coral Springs Drive, went underneath the Sawgrass Expressway Bridge. Did not know where the shots were coming from on the schoolyard. So I said, you know what, the fastest way on campus is going to be the south bus loop.
Okay, and I'm actually going to show you a map, Your Honor, if I can, and this can be put on the cameras. Your Honor.
Would you put the TVs back on?
Yes.
Okay.
And Your Honor, if you could enable the annotator. Officer, you can actually utilize the screen to mark it.
Okay.
Do you recognize what we're looking at here? Oh, and for the record, I apologize. We're looking at stage 1.
Yeah, I'm pretty familiar with the layout here, so.
Okay. Now, utilizing the pencil feature, where did you park the car? Park your squad car? So for records purposes, you went north on Pine Island Road and pulled into the loop at the bottom, the southern part of the campus?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Why did you go there?
There were a lot of cars in front of me. I know that, sorry, right here I know is the main entrance. This was very congested in this area, so I said, you know what, I'm not gonna drive through that. I wanted to get on campus as quick as I could. This was wide open.
This, where you were, what is that? Who typically parks there? What is that?
This is the south bus loop, so buses.
Understood. When you got on campus, is that where you parked your car, where the X is?
Yes, sir.
Okay. When you got out of your car, what did you do?
When I got out of my vehicle, the first thing I did was listen for gunshots.
Did you hear any gunshots?
I did not.
So after not having that stimuli, what did you do?
I had my M4 Smith & Wesson rifle. I started to put a chamber in the round.
Let's slow down.
Okay.
What's an M4? Is that a long rifle?
It is it's like an AR-15, but with a shorter barrel. Okay. So it's a very powerful rifle.
Okay. Did you have a scope on it?
I did, with a red dot.
What does that mean, red dot? Does that mean like it magnifies, or is that just like it'll show
You can make it magnify. There's a button you can turn on the scope, and the red dot will get bigger or smaller.
Okay. And with that weapon, you chambered?
I chambered a round.
Does that mean you loaded it,
Yeah,
basically?
so basically I'm holding the barrel of the gun like this, and it's called a charging handle. You rack it back, and a bullet goes in the chamber.
Okay. So now that you're armed with that rifle, what did you do?
I had 2 more magazines that I put in my cargo pants, my police uniform. So altogether, I had a 30-round magazine in the M4 rifle, and the 2 extra magazines that I had 20 rounds, so I had 70 rounds total. I also had my handgun, which with 3 magazines at like 15 apiece, I had another 45 bullets. So altogether, I had 115 rounds of ammunition.
And what kind of handgun did you have on you that day?
It was a Smith & Wesson. I'm sorry, a 6 Sauer.
And what caliber bullets?
Back then, I think it was 357.
Okay.
Not sure. We switched.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. You get out of the car. You're armed. Where do you go?
While I'm loading up my rifle, I'm looking. Like I said, I know Douglas pretty good. I know that this is the cafeteria. I know that this is the front office. And the first thing I did, I wanted, since I wasn't hearing gunshots, the next thing I wanted was information. So I looked in this general area right here. There's a hallway to see if anybody was running out, and if there was, I was going to ask them for information, but there was nobody there.
Did you see, was it a ghost town right around there? Did you see anybody at first?
I did not see anyone.
Ultimately, did you see someone?
Yes, shortly after, I began to run north.
You can track it.
Okay, so after not seeing anybody west, I'm like, okay, let's go front office. So I started to run north on this sidewalk.
And did you ultimately see someone?
I did. A gentleman driving a golf cart was driving towards me.
Did you know who it was?
I did not.
Okay. Did you get in that golf cart?
I did.
Why did you get in the golf cart?
Because as you can see, well, the gentleman offered me a ride. As you can see, it is a very long distance from where he picked me up. So he offered me a ride and I took it.
You said long distance. Did you know where you were going when you got on the scene, when you initially parked your car?
Yeah, so when the gentleman approached me, I asked him what's going on here. And he said there's a shooting. It's a white male with a burgundy ROTC uniform shirt, dark pants. The shooting happened in the 1,200 or 3-story building, in or around the building and the northeast parking lot.
Okay. Were you familiar with the 1,200 building or the 3-story?
I was not familiar with the 1,200 building, but I knew exactly where the 3-story building was.
That information that was given to you, was that given to you by Mr. Peterson?
It was not.
Was that given to you by an officer or a civilian?
It was given to me by a campus monitor.
Campus monitor. Okay. You're in the golf cart with the campus monitor. Can you track or trace the route that you went?
Yes. So as we're going north, I'm starting to mentally prepare to get into a possible gunfight.
How do you do that?
You
How
just
did you do that? Let me ask you that.
mentally prepare.
Yes.
Just by your training starts to take over. You know, you're ready to go.
Did you want to be engaged in a potential gunfight?
I remember when I got out of the golf cart, I remember saying to myself, I immediately wanted to take this individual on.
Okay. So you're in that golf cart, you're driving northbound.
Yep, so we jump off of the sidewalk. The gentleman makes a hard turn to the left, and I exit. As soon as he makes this hard turn, I get out.
Where did you ultimately position yourself?
So after I got out of the golf cart, I start running west. I'm focusing my attention this way, and also to the building.
Okay. I'm going to clear the screen.
Okay.
Just from here. It's not allowing me to.
It's not either way.
I am trying to.
All right,
There we go. There we go. Thank you. Officer Burton, I'm going to show you what's already in evidence as states, in evidence as states 6 composite F13. Your Honor, we can show this.
This can remain on. You may proceed.
Officer Burton, do you see in the top left portion of the screen, do you see a golf cart?
I did.
Are you on that golf cart?
I am in the passenger seat.
And what time does the camera, does it read up there?
It says 2:29:08.
Thank you, Officer Burton. You're going back to States 1, Your Honor. Now, you've already stated that you were dropped off by the campus monitor up. Well, mark where you were dropped off again, if you don't mind. When you got there, did you think you were the only officer there?
I did.
And for how long did you think you were the only officer there?
From the time it took me to run from here to right here, I felt like I was the only person.
Is that where you positioned yourself, kind of near that tree and near some parked cars?
Yes, I did. I positioned myself between the trunk of a tree and a black SUV.
Why did you position yourself there?
The campus monitor said in or around the 300 building, so this was the best spot for me, I thought, to be in to kind of, gather myself and figure out what my next move was going to be.
The 300 building or the 3-story building?
I'm sorry, the 3-story building.
Okay. Now, based upon your training, if you do not hear shots during an active shooting event, what are you to do?
We can hold in this position and we can wait for a team if there's no active gunfire.
Are you trained to also try to look for stimulus or gather information or intelligence in regards to the act of shooting?
Yes.
And is that what your intention was to do when you were in that position?
Yes.
At some point in time, did you see Scot Peterson?
I did.
And where, and if you could mark on the screen, where did you see him located? And you can estimate this for me, but approximately how far away was he?
I would say that was about 40 yards.
40 yards.
Yeah, I used to play football, so I know what 40 yards is.
Okay.
So yeah.
Were you able to communicate with him?
Yes, I was.
And you personally knew him, correct?
Yes.
What was the conversation when you got on scene? What did Mr. Peterson tell you?
When I saw Deputy Peterson to my left, I got in between the tree and the SUV, and the first thing I said, "Scott, where the fuck is this guy at?"
And the response?
The response was, "Timmy, is that you?" I said, "Yeah, it's me." And he said, "I haven't heard any shots in a few minutes. I don't know the exact location of the shooter, but watch your back. Somebody could be behind you in the parking lot."
Okay. So the parking lot you're talking about is obviously, well, there you go. Based upon the information that you received from Mr. Peterson, did you change the positioning that you were in?
I did.
How so?
I moved to the trunk area of the SUV. I stood up on the curb of the parking lot to make myself taller, and I basically scoped. I scoped this entire area. I was looking for anything moving that matched the description of what the campus monitor gave me.
Given that you were scoping that area, was your back exposed to the 1200 building?
It was.
Now, when you were scoping the parking lot, did you look behind you to look at the 1200 building?
I did. I would focus on the northeast parking lot. I would also turn around and give a peek to the east doors of the 3-story building. And then I would also look back to see how Deputy Peterson was doing.
Now, what did you see Deputy Peterson doing when you were looking back, when you were in that position?
He was in like a low ready position. Just to clarify that for you guys, you're holding your gun kind of down low. He was up against a concrete column of this building, which I don't know what the name of that is. And he was looking east and west.
From his vantage point, could he see northbound past the 1200 building?
That I don't know, but I definitely could see west and northeast.
Okay. Now, how long would you say that you were scoping out the parking lot with your back exposed to the 1200 building?
For several minutes, best recollection.
Now, at any point in time, did Mr. Peterson tell you that that approximately 70 rounds went off in the 1200 building?
He did not tell me that.
Did he relay to you information that 5 kids had ran outside of the east doors?
He did not.
Did he relay to you that the shooter or someone matching the description that you had, a white male ROTC uniform, burgundy shirt, had ran westbound down the corridor towards the football field?
He did not.
Now, that information, white male ROTC uniform, burgundy shirt, did you relay that to Coral Springs?
I did.
How did you do that?
Via my police radio.
That real-time intelligence, did you get that from Mr. Peterson, or did you get that from a civilian campus monitor?
Civilian campus monitor.
Did you get any real-time intelligence from Mr. Peterson?
I did. The real-time intelligence that I received from him was that he didn't hear shots in a couple minutes. He didn't know the exact location of the shooter, and he possibly thought that somebody was behind me in the parking lot. That was the information I received from him.
Now I want to go back to your SRO, your school resource officer background. Eagle Ridge in 2017. Is that where you were assigned?
Yes.
Okay. And in 2017, was a training conducted at that school?
Yes.
And what was the training in regards to?
It was active shooter training.
And who was that training for? Was it for fellow officers?
No, it was for teachers and staff of Eagle Ridge Elementary, and law enforcement did the presentation.
Was Mr. Peterson one of the presenters?
He was.
Now, what did you teach the teachers or the staff that day?
We taught them a code red situation, active shooter, what they are to do.
And what did you specifically tell them in regards to that? Code red active shooter, what they're to do?
The first thing they're to do is to put a partition in front of their glass. The second thing, the second thing they're supposed to do is barricade the door as the best they can, and then get their classroom to the safe corner.
And what is a safe corner, if you could explain that to the jury?
The safe corner is kind of the angle of the classroom that would protect the students most if gunfire were to come into the classroom.
Were there any sort of examples utilized during this training? For instance, blanks?
Yes. So what we would do is we would do like a mock, a trial with teachers in the classroom. And the teachers had no idea, but we were going to fire live ammunition, blanks, of course, so they could become accustomed to what gunfire would sound like outside their classroom.
Now, how many presenters, how many officers were there teaching that day?
I don't recall, but there were about usually 2 a classroom, and then the training instructors. So I couldn't give you how many were there.
Was each officer there assigned a particular number of teachers or staff to teach?
Yes.
Approximately how many teachers or staff?
Maybe like 30 a class.
Okay. And were you in the same classroom teaching as Mr. Peterson?
I was not.
But it was the same curriculum taught to the teachers and staff?
It was.
At that presentation, did you and fellow presenters explain what officers, SRO's jobs were during the code red?
Yeah, that's usually a main concern of the teachers. They always ask, well, what are you doing while all this is going on? And we tell them we are looking for the shooter and engaging.
Now, back to MSD on February 14th of 2018. Did you hear any shots at all while you were there that day?
I did not.
Your position with your back exposed to the 1200 building, scoping the parking lot. At some point in time, does your position change?
Yes, it does.
When? What caused it to change?
They announced on our radio that they were getting real-time video that the shooter was still in the building between like the 2nd and 3rd floor.
Okay, and with that information, what did you do?
We thought we were going to receive gunfire, maybe from the windows of the building. So we had to get back behind the trunk of the SUV. And tactically, whenever a gunman is up above you and you're below them, that's not a good spot to be in.
Mr. Burton, I'm showing you what's already been entered into evidence in State 16. My erase still isn't working, so if you could just do it.
Okay.
Thank you. Do you recognize this?
I do.
Is this the east side of 1200 building?
It is.
Okay. Now the windows that you were talking about, If you could please, using the pencil function, circle what windows you're speaking of.
It's these and then these over here. I'm sorry.
Now, with that information, did you change your position from facing kind of east-northeast to turning around and then facing west?
Yes, I did.
Were you still near the tree and the SUV?
I had to move away from the tree, but now I was on the trunk side of the SUV.
Okay. And where were you looking towards?
I was looking up at these windows.
Okay. At some point in time, did you see members of either BSO or Coral Springs enter the east side of the building?
I did.
Approximately how many?
4 Coral Springs officers and I think 2 BSO.
Okay. Did you join them?
I did not.
Why not?
Where I was positioned, it was just still Deputy Peterson and I. When I on-viewed the officers heading towards the building, the feeling I got after Deputy Peterson told me about the parking lot was we had somebody like trapped. Whoever did this was trapped in that parking lot and they possibly were going to try to shoot their way out of it. That was the feeling I got after he gave me the information.
Did you relay to Coral Springs that information that the shooter was potentially in that parking lot?
I did not. I believe I told either a sergeant or a captain. I don't know who came first.
Now, ultimately, with that information, did Coral Springs use resources to clear that parking lot? And I'm going to go back to stakes 1.
Yes, we did.
How many officers would you estimate cleared that parking lot in the northeast corner?
To my best recollection, maybe 5 to 8.
And how many minutes approximately did it take for them to clear that parking lot?
It probably took them, I really don't know, but my best guess would be about maybe 10 minutes.
Now, was the parking lot full, kind of like...
Just like this picture, it was full of cars.
Were the officers going in and out of the cars?
Yes.
Checking underneath the cars?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So it was expounding a lot of resources to check this parking lot?
It was, yes.
And it's at the same time as this one SWAT is in the 1200 building?
At this time, there is a lot of people in that building.
Okay. Now, at some point in time, did this turn into rescue mode?
It did.
Approximately when did that happen? I don't need a time, but in the course of events.
Maybe during or the end of the video delay that was being broadcasted over the radio. To my view of the east doors, some deceased students were starting to come out.
Okay. So you never made your way inside the building, but when deceased students were brought out, did you...
I ran over to help.
Okay. And what exactly did you do in that regard?
Sorry. There was a golf cart full of blood driven by Officer Wilkins. A deputy said, he looked at my name tag, he goes, "Burton, I need help. The kids can't see this." So he had a...
What did you take that to mean, this?
The massacre, the trauma, yeah.
Okay.
The gore.
What did you do next?
I assisted the deputy by picking up underneath the legs of the deceased student, under like the knees area.
Do you know what the deceased student's name was?
I didn't know at the time, but I know who it is now.
Who is it?
It's Luke Hoyer.
With Luke's, what did you do with Luke?
We put him on the back seat of the golf cart, and then Officer Wilkins drove away.
Did you assist in any other rescue or
Yes.
medical portion of it?
I did. So after all the deceased were out of the hallway, they were like, okay guys, we're gonna start letting the kids out. So I backed away from the east doors and I took a position about right here to guide the kids to Pine Island Road.
Okay. And did you help with any other of the injured students?
I did, 2 more females. The first one who approached me, she had a protruding right eye, and she was like, officer, my hip is killing me. And she kind of went like this, and she had about the diameter of a pencil, the circumference, and I could see she was white in the face, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna help you. And she's like, I can walk. And then eventually when we got to like this part right here, she's like, I could tell maybe the adrenaline was starting to wear away. So I picked her up and I handed her off to a deputy right here. And I said, gunshot victim to the hip.
Was her white face consistent with blood loss in your experience?
I don't know about that. I just know that her right eye was like just swollen. Like, I don't know. I've never seen that before.
And did you physically carry her?
Mm-hmm.
You're a big guy. Did you?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
After that, what did you do?
I ran back to my spot. I couldn't tell you how many minutes went by, but right about here, so gosh, right here, I observed Detective McLean trying to carry a female who was crying.
Okay.
So I went over and offered my assistance, and I could tell that that female was shot in the left knee.
And did you assist in helping her be removed?
So what we did with her was we brought her this way. We brought her this way through this gate, and as we were doing that, the CSPD SWAT truck said, guys, give her to us.
Now, after that, what did you do after you helped assist with her?
We loaded her up on the truck, and then me and Officer McLean walked back to this position here.
Now, during this time period where you were assisting with the students who were injured and with Luke, was Mr. Peterson helping?
I don't recall. I didn't see him.
You didn't see him. If you were exclusively on the east side of the building.
I was for about the entire time of the event.
The same side of it. Was that the same side of the building that Mr. Peterson was on?
Yes, close in proximity.
Now, when you first got there, when you first got dropped off by the golf cart, and you saw Mr. Peterson there, did you consider yourself the primary officer, given that you got there second?
No, it's his school.
So did you consider yourself perhaps the backup officer?
I considered myself an officer who came to help.
Now, during the time that you were there, before you started rendering aid, did you see Mr. Peterson leave that position that he was in that you first saw him in?
I'm sorry, repeat the question.
From the time that you got there,
Yes.
until it turned into rescue mode,
Okay,
did you see Mr. Peterson leave that area that he was in?
I did not.
And how long would you estimate you were there before it turned into rescue mode? You can ballpark this one.
20 to 30 minutes.
Just one moment, Charles.
Yes, sir.
nothing further for Officer Bird at this time.
Okay, cross-examination, go ahead.
Judge, we have a brief sidebar?
Yes. I'm going to try to stick to the schedule as I outlined it for you when I mentioned a week ago last Wednesday, so I'm going to press pause right now. When we resume the trial on Monday, we'll pick it up at the cross-examination, right where we are right now. Same admonition as always, please do not discuss the facts of the case, the evidence, the witnesses, or the testimony amongst yourselves or anyone else till we reach the end of the case. I'll tell you when that is. Ladies and gentlemen, I cannot emphasize this enough. Over the weekend, please, no research of any kind on the internet, any source directly or indirectly regarding the parties, places, anything having to do with the case or the trial. I'm going to ask you to please stop watching any news. Please do not read the newspaper. Okay, I hope you enjoy your weekend back at your normal lives. I'm going to ask that you all be back here Monday, which is Monday, June 12th at 9:15 a.m. 9:15 a.m. in New Jersey. On Monday, June the 12th, if you will leave the notepads in your envelopes in your chairs, they'll be waiting for you when you return. I hope you have a nice weekend. I'll see you Monday morning. Okay, we're outside the presence of the jury. State, is there anything else that you need me to address before we recess the trial until Monday morning?
Your Honor, it's my understanding that Ms. Wilcox and Mr. Klinger were able to figure out the evidence necessary for Monday afternoon, so I think we're all good.
Okay, very good. Defense, anything else you need me to address?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Sir, I'm going to see you Monday at 9:30. You can talk to anyone you want about anything you want except this case, just like you're on the witness stand. I'll see you Monday morning at 9:30.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so then the trial's otherwise going to be in recess until Monday, which is Monday, June 12th at 9:30 a.m. Division FX will be in recess until Monday, June 12th at 8:45 a.m. I hope you all have a good rest of your evening. All right, Mr. Court Reporter, that is it.
That wraps up segment number 4 in today's coverage of the trial of Scot Peterson, the Parkland School resource officer. Keep it here and press subscribe so you don't miss any of our continuing coverage on this case as it continues to unfold. I'm Tony Bruschi. Stay with us.
This has been a special report from True Crime Today and the Hidden Killers podcast.